All right, welcome to episode 19 of the War Room. Thank you, Tyson Mobley of Under the Table Graphics, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We've got a good one, and we're going to start it off. First off, I want to talk about our socials. A lot of times I forget to mention this, but if you can, we're putting out a lot of content on our Facebook, on our TikTok, and on our YouTube channel. If you can like, share, subscribe, that type of stuff. If you're into what we like, that we very much appreciate that, and I assume you are if you're tuning into this. So I appreciate that if you can get on our socials, and that's Triple D Entertainment and also the Under the Table Graphics. Appreciate that. We are keeping people updated on a build that we are currently doing, which we're going to get into here in a little bit. But let's kick this thing off with a throwback class. Okay, we told you we had some surprises, and we are having a throwback class at our King. We always have two big classes, and our second big class this year will be a throwback class. Now, what it'll actually be and what throwback rules it will be, we'd love to hear from you guys what you think. But there's a lot of guys. There's different demographics in the derby world, and you try to appeal to everyone as you want to give everyone a platform and a stage to compete on. And we want this second class to be a lighter class than our king class and appeal to that demographic that keeps saying the king rules are too hard, Tyson. They say the king rules are too hard. Um,
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing as well.
Yeah, so their king class, by the way, is it's going to fill. We are well on our way to filling. If you are on the fence, there's less than 20 spots left. Okay, we've had guys sign up since we put that 20 mark out. There's less than 20 spots left for that 50K on the line. This next class, people say, "Oh, we want a lighter build. We want a lighter build." Well, we thought let's just do a throwback class, and we will be going back. I will tell you a time frame: 13 years. We are going back 13 years. When the king comes around, it'll be 14 years. So we are going back to 2010 for this second big class at the king. Love to hear your guys' thoughts, what you're thinking. Tyson, you think this will pull some of
You,
these guys out of the weeds?
yeah, I think it'll give some of the guys that need the lighter build or want a lighter build, whatever you know they prefer better. I think I think it also gives the fans a little more action with the cars bending up and stuff. Uh, so a little bit more than just wheels falling off or axles breaking, I guess.
It has changed to a steering and or a tire game, right? Who can keep steering? This particular class, throwing that back to 2010, um, will change the game a little bit. You're right. Cars will be bending, especially in the format. When you got to ride hard. We've got 3 years of evidence of the format, and heats lasting no more than 15 minutes, which is pretty unheard of in these style and competitive classes that we have. So it's going to be interesting to see how these cars react running that hard. 2010 again. We're going to be throwing that throwback class back to 2010. What rules will we be using? Well, we'll put that out here soon. Um, as you know, and Tyson, as you know, these rules going through these rules in 2010 compared to 2023, there's a lot of difference there and a lot of gray area.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I
so
think I think people will be excited for sure.
heck, there isn't even anything about O3s in 2010. So we'll have to make some decisions on that. I believe the last O3s were made in what, 2010, 2011 ish. Um, so I mean, Crown Vics were still being made last time this rule set was used, which is going to be a pretty neat throwback. So we're excited for that. Tyson, something else I wanted to get into here is I don't know if you got a chance to see, but Pete Hansen had a really nice write up and video in the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Nice. I didn't actually get a chance to read it yet, but I think it's exciting because it reaches out to a whole different group of people. And any chance that we get as a Derby community, we have to jump on those opportunities to help bring awareness and move the sport forward. So that's it's exciting to hear about.
I looked up a couple, like just a quick peek into into the Philadelphia Inquirer,
Hmm.
and it looks like it reaches over 13 million people a
Oh
month.
wow!
So that's, obviously
So,
digital across their platforms. 13 million people had a chance to read an article about Pete Hansen and the Derby world, which is pretty cool.
yeah, that's a big group. You never know who's in that group. You know, reading it and the possibilities could go pretty far there if the right person reads.
Now, I haven't had a chance to talk to Pete on how he got this Philadelphia Inquirer deal happening. I'm definitely going to reach out to him and see, how this all came about. But I know there was some video stuff involved. There was a really nice write up, which included some other people, and they even used some terminology that we use, Tyson, the king of PA, which doesn't
Oh,
exist yet,
oh,
but that's pretty fitting for Pete. I think there's a couple other guys that would have something to say about that, but that was pretty neat that they used that.
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, the
That's
king of
seems
PA
to
is
be sticking if hopefully more people start to hear about the word king and separate states other than PA and Michigan, Kentucky, that type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if we had anything to do with it, but it is a perfect terminology, I guess, to use for an article like that. And a personality like that in the Derby world. We need more of that, man. We need more of
Yep,
that.
yep, I agree. Yeah, we got to get some of these guys that get out of their comfort box a little bit, just put some content out there and see where it goes. Worst can happen is people don't pay attention to it. So,
How can you be discovered if you're not going out on a limb, right? If you're not pushing
yep,
the sport forward. Um, Tyson currently right now in the garage, in which I'm going to go right back out to right after this is over and continue to work on this wagon build. We asked guys to document a bunch of stuff, to create their own social media profiles, to post on there, to keep everybody updated, not only in the Derby world, but you never know who's going to stumble upon that content. And we're currently doing it right now.
yeah. It's exciting to do it because it's kind of like we're trying to figure out what actually works, what don't work, what do people want to see, what don't they want to see. So it's just kind of one of those new things. Learning something new never hurts. Always looking for a new skill to build. So
Yeah, and pretty much why we're building this wagon is we want to work on that. We want to be put in that situation in
yep,
which we ask our drivers what we're asking of our drivers, so that way we can help guys out in the future when they start diving into this and where to go. Maybe we can figure out some information, some trends, say, hey, look, people really like this, they didn't like that, and gives the whole package. I mean, there's nothing really that
yep,
we're hiding when it comes to this build. I mean, you're seeing our whole shop, you're seeing, everything. We're going to take you through the build. Obviously, we can't capture everything in long form content, so you're going to see bits and pieces. Heck, to even starting a torch or lighting a torch 5 times in a row. I think you captured that, didn't you?
yeah. It took a good 3 times. So,
Yeah, and you said, yeah, I
but
remember. You
You'll
saying, hey,
have that.
yeah, well, hey, you want to, you sure you want that in there? Yeah. I mean, look, whoever, if the torches never went out on somebody, so be it. Now, look, does this open you up for criticism? Does it put a target on your back? All of those things are possible. I guess if somebody's got to do it, we might as well do it. And if it puts a target on our back or it opens us up for criticism, I think we've probably taken our fair share of criticism over the past couple of years. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. There's everybody has their own way of doing things, so I'm sure that's going to be one of the things. But you should do it this way, or 100 different ways to do the same thing. So I'm sure that stuff's coming, but you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt and keep doing what you got to do to get the job done. So
Yeah, hey, maybe we'll mess around and learn something that we're doing wrong. And they say, hey, look, you need to do this or that. Uh,
that's a good point. Good point.
we got a first comment in here says, I'm new to fix it plates. Would you happen to have any tips on an 89 Grand Marquis that I'm allowed 6 4x4 by quarter-inch plates? Um, Johnny, what I would do is I would look at the Metal Mayhem builds. You didn't say anything about cradles or anything like that, but I would look at the Metal Mayhem builds, and those guys were putting them on their boxes in the box cars and tacoing them in front of the boxes where you tilt them. So those are two pretty good areas to start. And there's obviously a couple other areas. Heck, I'm learning too, man. We were just deciding where we're going to put our fix it plates on the wagon. So we get 6 2. But thanks for commenting. Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate it. I would definitely start at the boxes though. I know Bob Whitaker. I saw where he was putting his, and he wrapped his. He did a taco plate, and then he wrapped his, and the taco was where you tilt it, where you cut the flap, and then he wrapped his underneath, kind of connecting those two plates. I would say that's a pretty good place to start. He almost won the dang thing, and I think he knows a thing or two about those types of cars. So I'd say it's a pretty good place to start, and then obviously you can get into the S's and whatnot, and up front, and decide where you want to put things there. You can even go underneath the A arm, but that's up to you, man. What you do with that other one.
Yeah, I would
Let's
say a lot of it's going to depend on how you drive and what do you want to be your angle there. So
That's a pretty good point. Is there any hump plates? Do you want to put it? A lot of people are playing this game, Tyson, as you've seen him. Heck, I played it on my last couple cars. Is keeping that the ass end of the car straight. So, do you want to try to do that, or do you want to try to get it to flip
yeah,
and then compact and get it hard? And some lessons I've learned is you have to drive the car differently if you're going to try to keep it straight, because it will bend weird and it will go to the ground. And just lessons that you learn. You got to consciously be aware of that, in my opinion. I'm always thinking about like going back and what did I do wrong? What did I hit? Or what did I hit too hard? Or you rarely hurt your cars hitting tires, but it can happen, especially in those softer builds. So getting back to the wagon stuff, if you pay attention to what we're doing, we are basically documenting that build for Buried Alive. I think it's Buried Alive 4 or 5, and that's in October, late October. So we're going to
uh,
take a pre-ran Buick wagon over there.
yeah, we'll see how what we can get to put together here and give it our best shot there.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Hopefully, bring home
expect
the
this
W.
wagon. Yeah, well, let's not go too far. I wouldn't expect this wagon build to blow anyone away. It was a pre-ran wagon that is rusty, so we'll see how it holds up. It did. We got to do some repairing on the quarter panel, and we'll document how we're doing that and what that looks like. One of the quarter panels got blown off. It was actually a car I ran against, shooey, probably 6-7 years ago, and the guy had some tough luck that night. And hopefully we can have a little better luck going over to PA again. We do have some hardware from PA. Not this past year though. Not this past year. Them boys had too much for me. But we did bring home some hardware a couple years ago. And actually, and the check up on the wall, if you guys can see that, can't move it, is from that is from PA too. It says Lisbon, Ohio, but that's where the motorsports was. That was from. So we've had some luck going to PA. We'll see if we can have a little more. Tyson, a segment that I wanted to get into and I want to keep getting into weekly is something that we can have a little fun with and kind of poke just some people a little bit and say, hey, man, do you think about that comment? So it's a come on, man segment. Last week was our truck incident in which we pulled up a video. We had some tires flying in the crowd. This week, a come on, man this is just in general. We hear this all the time. Man, Derbying's turned into nothing but a money game. What's your thoughts on that?
I think as anything is in a hobby set or passion or anything is, like if you're building classic cars, if you're restoring original cars, anything that you love to do, you're going to spend money. So I just chalk that up to, one of the things of it's just the reason that I don't want to do it. I don't really want to tell you why I don't want to do it. So it's just all about money. Can't compete because I don't have the hardware or the big motor, rear end, something like that. It's just one of those things. So
When I hear this, I think you're absolutely right. And when I hear this, it just irks me when someone says it's a money game. There has literally never been more classes and Demolition Derby. Some would argue that there's too many options, right?
yeah,
So anyone that wants to compete with any style budget, we are having even stock classes, front wheel drive stock classes. We're having a 10,000 to win 2-man team show at the King in 2024. Then we had it in 2023. Stock cars are able to compete for big money. You don't have a lot of money in those cars, so it literally irks me. It seems, as you know, when you start to dig deeper and someone says thoughts that they just don't make a lot of sense, there's always something behind it.
hmm yeah. It's very true. I think people. Yeah, we'll just say that. Yeah, I agree with that. There's always something there that the real reason why they're not running or they don't want to or they can't is to be hidden. So the easiest thing is money.
Well, put yourself in a promoter's shoes, Tyson, and try to decipher all of these things coming at you of why people aren't running your show or why they're not doing this or why they're not that. You got to decipher all that. It's a pretty tough place to be.
I can imagine. You, you just gotta navigate through the BS sometimes, I guess, and then just um, accept for people, accept people for who they are, and if they just got a reason for everything, well, then I guess that you don't really need them at the show anyway. They'd be better off on the bleacher seat watching. So
There's all kinds of different terminology for that. The loudest people are in the cheapest seats. Armchair
yeah,
quarterbacks, right? There's all kinds of stuff that you can use. I hope that's not the case for these light build guys and that they do show up. See, last year we offered a pro stock and which was very similar to Toast's rules, and Toast gets a pretty good turnout. we got like 6 cars, and we offered 10K to win on 60 cars. We got like 6 cars that actually showed up. It didn't seem to turn out that the light style build, these guys that are chirping and wanting that, either we did, you always point the finger in the mirror, or you always look in the mirror and you say, did we miss the demographic? And we're always trying to figure out how we get out to those people that we're not getting out to. Um, but it didn't. It wasn't the hit last year, so we're doing this little throwback class. People want to go back, man. People want to go back. That's what we keep hearing. Got to go back. Got to go back. Is 2010 back far enough?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear and see what the comments are, if if we're going to have enough people interested in it or not. I think we will. Um, you know, but just comments on the social media doesn't really translate into people signing up though. So there's always that. You got a guy that's going to tell you you can get 15 of them if you do this rule set, and then in reality you've got two. So you just see where it goes and see if we got any interest in it or not. Maybe it'd be a team, maybe it'd be singles, whatever. I mean, I'm just interested to see what the people out there want.
We will be putting the rest of that information out there. So hopefully we don't have to get on here and say, come on, man. Where are these guys at, right? That are calling for this. You guys asked, we deliver. And that's what we've been doing for going on 4 years now. We have delivered. We've delivered the highest payouts, single payouts in the country. And we're very proud of that. We've got guys making names for themselves at our shows, as it should be. And people will not forget those names because that's what we do. We're promoters. We're promoting you. We're all about you. We're all about the driver. You come win our show, you won't be forgotten. It's as
Yeah,
simple as
yeah.
that.
I actually had a conversation with a guy last week. He asked me my opinion, and that's one of the things I brought up to him was, you could go run because it's the cost, of putting the big car together, of the entry fee, and how many people are really coming. How much is it really going to pay? And I think you just got to stop and ask yourself, if you sign up for 4 or 5 of these smaller shows, you're going to have the same amount of money in entry fee as you are to this one big show. And who's going to remember that you won this, you know this small show? And is the promoters even going to promote that you won the show? Yeah, you get a picture on Facebook, but here, we're trying to, you know look at the picture in the background right now. How many promoters are doing that? So
Well, there's not a lot, and that's what definitely we try to separate ourselves with is we are promoting you. We are your biggest fans, and we are going to make sure that if you come win our show, that nobody forgets who you are. As a matter of fact, we're going to have some more past King winners coming on over the next several weeks. We've had a lot of information to get out, so we haven't had a chance to get them on. But we've got all winter. We've got all winter to get these guys on. These guys are on a 364-day King parade, and we don't want to use it all up today or next week. So we will have those past winners on and get to hear their story on maybe why they came, how they won, maybe some hardships that they went through, throughout the weekend. So that'll be really cool to have those guys on.
yeah, and like I really hope they take that opportunity to, kind of, especially this year's winners, the 2023 winners, that they express the victory lane and things. Because I mean, I know it's in, just like the drawing, for the drivers, it's intense to be there, to be a part of it and doing the taping. And then, same thing with even pulling the confetti or whatever it's called. You just feel that raw emotion. So it's not like just any other derby. So
Well, if you're tuning in for the first time or watching this after, we do it several different things, as Tyson mentioned, including Victory Lane, which you see JT in the background here. It's supposed to mean more. Look,
Yep.
we don't just give you your check and trophy and say, "See you later. Thanks for coming." Hell no, man. We're there to celebrate you. Your family's there. You've worked so hard for this moment. All the hours in the garage, all the time away from the family, everybody that's helped. It's time to celebrate. And there is no just, hey, let's give you your check on the track or your cash on the track. Buddy, you're driving to victory lane, and that's got to be a feeling like no other. This year, Tyson, I think we can say, and you tell me what your thoughts are. I think the guys understood it. They appreciated it a little more.
Yes.
It was far more emotional. It meant more. And plus, it was harder to win. I mean, let's face it, the show's been growing every year, and it was just flat out harder to win this year than it was in the past, than it was in the first year, the second year. Um, so you saw it on their faces. It meant a little more.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, and as I've mentioned to you before, to be there before the drivers are coming, and you have the group that's there with the driver, they're all anticipating the wait, they're all gathered, so they're immediately talking to each other, and then the build up to the driver coming in is just like nothing I've ever experienced, and it wasn't even me in in the group, but yeah, you can 100% feel it's a whole different atmosphere, and it's something to experience, I'd imagine.
Even for the fans, we encourage the fans to come down, be a
Yep.
part of it. If you haven't been to Lima, Ohio, it's right underneath the grandstands. We do Victory Lane. So come out of that grandstands and come down and celebrate and see these drivers and the raw emotion and passion they have for the sport. That would be really cool to see more people in there. A lot of times it's just the family members or close people, but I mean, heck, I'm a guy. I want to go experience that. If I'm thinking about running, or if I didn't get a chance to make it there in another class, and heck, I'm definitely seeing what that victory lane's all about.
Yeah, and for the drivers, also, like you've competed. If you've competed in the format, and you've like the teams and the King class last year, those guys have actually eliminated people. They've put the work in to get to the feature. Some of them come through the conti, and some of them, get close to it. But to see that uh, all unfold, and then be able to watch these guys hold the trophies up in the air is something. So
Jimmy, thanks for chiming in. Jimmy says he loves the throwback old school rules and build. I hope the people show and make this an awesome class. Me too, man. I can't wait to announce exactly what it is. It's going to pay really big money, which is going to be cool. Again, we're just going to put it out there. Either the drivers take to it or they don't, and I really think they will. We've thought long and hard about this. Doing these throwback set of rules in a throwback class, I think is going to be really cool, and something different that we can add to the King to make it stand out just a little bit more. So we're excited about that, man. I really, really excited. Tyson, we do have something else we've been working on. Can't let it out of the bag yet. A couple more things, but it is sealed. Okay, signed, sealed, and we're about to deliver this bad boy. And this will happen at the King of 2024. Everybody talks about it. I'll just leave it at this. There's some people that are about it. And we found some people that are about it, which is going to be pretty cool. We've been preaching competition going on 3 years, and we want the best of the best on the track, getting it on. And the format sets you up for that. If you guys don't know the format, what it does is there's random draws of three. You're in that group of three. You have to beat the other two drivers. So it doesn't matter what your name is, who you are, how many derbies, everything goes out the window. And it's about that moment in time and those 15 minutes. okay, of how good you are. So we are really, really excited that we'll be announcing something here really soon with some drivers, maybe that you guys have never seen, anticipated seeing, run against each other, which is going to be really cool. I probably gave away too much there, but you start diving in, digging into the weeds here. We have something really, really fun and interesting that's going to be happening at the King in 2024.
Yeah, I think it'll be something. I don't know that I would say it's never happened, but not it's never been organized uh, to to happen, and it'll. I think it'll move some heads and turn some heads, and it'll be something that you might have to be there to watch. So
I agree. And speaking of that driver's list, look, I'm telling you right now, we got less than 20 spots. If these 20 or less than 20 fill up and shape up like I think they will, with drivers from the past and some new drivers from out of state coming, it will be a driver's list that you will not want to miss. I will put this driver's list against any driver's list that has ever hit the track. And I mean, I'm looking at it. It's very, very impressive. So we are super excited to that about that. The last thing I wanted to get to, Tyson, I want to get your opinion. Give the audience a chance to chime in. Seen this twice. I think this happened at Metal Mayhem. I never got the chance to see it. Okay, so but then it popped up on my news feed earlier today or yesterday, one of the two. Gamesmanship. Okay, what is gamesmanship? What's too far? What's not too far? Maybe we can get some opinions on this. Tyson, you're coming to hit me in a car. All right. Now, everyone knows that you have sticks, okay, that you can break when you're out. But I give you the mercy. Hey, don't hit me. Tyson, gamesmanship or no gamesmanship?
I think if you're waving off, I think there's just the possibility of injury. Because if you're in the opposite car, you're coming up to see and you see that, and it's gonna change your perspective of what you're thinking and doing at that point. And I get that, but I just think it's too big of a risk because if it becomes a popular thing to where everybody's doing it, I think you could get to a point to where somebody's going to get hurt. Um, I see both sides of it, I guess, but I would just lean towards no, I don't think so.
I would venture to say that this is not addressed at a lot of different places. Now, it's going to start getting addressed in drivers' meetings because it's happening quite frequently. Out in Illinois, these guys acted like it was just, hey, that's part of the game, man. It's
Yeah.
gamesmanship. Sorry that you got outgained there, but here at the King, we have addressed this in our past in the drivers' meeting. I can tell you what we say is that this is the universal mercy rule. Okay, so if you do this or wave your hands in any motion throughout that, and you weren't able to break your stick, we count you out. Okay, it could be a gamesmanship deal. What do you expect out of the driver? And I want to get into a couple of these comments because they're getting pretty good. So Brian steps in. He says, if you have time to wave off, you have time to break your stick. That being said, you shouldn't put another driver in danger. Exactly, man. I don't know. I don't know what you do as drivers. You had the stick, right? Do we need to talk about that? Do we need to educate drivers that look, you have to use your stick as that mercy rule? I definitely think it needs to be talked about a little more than what it is. I've seen it happen twice. I don't necessarily think it's on the promoter, of why it's happening or whatever. It is a gamesmanship deal, you know. It really is, and sometimes we got to address that. Jimmy chimed in here. So if you can wave your stick and break off, I learned that it happened early in my drive till it's down. Hey, I don't blame you. Randy said the same thing. Your stick's up, man. You're getting hit. Um, I don't know if I'm having any mercy on somebody in that moment, but man, I can tell you this, I wouldn't like to be hit by that guy that I just gave some mercy to. And
Yeah.
apparently that's been happening. So Tyson, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah, well, and I, I mean, as a fan and stuff like that, I guess you could get the drama of it. Like if you were to wave me off and I dodge the hit, and then that you come off and break my wheel off in the next two shots, I'm probably going to be pretty ticked. So that there you got some possible altercations or anything. I just think it's bad sportsmanship. I think I just there you
It's gamesmanship, is what it is. I don't know if it's bad sportsmanship. It's gamesmanship. Um, I was a baseball coach. I played baseball for a long time. There's something that guys do in baseball, and they cut third. Okay, if there's a two-man team and an umpire, without boring you guys to death. I know this isn't a baseball podcast, but if you have a two-man team and you bunt with a guy on second, neither of the umpires are looking at the runner coming to third. And what happens, and I've had this happen to me, and I've had it happen to some of my teams, is they will cut third. They won't ever touch third, Tyson. They'll banana that baby off, and they'll get straight to home a little quicker than they should. Shoo-wee, man. I can tell you this. If you have that pulled on you, you are hot because you see it as the opposing
go.
team, but it's the ump's job, right, to call the game.
Right.
And for those of you that maybe just learned that or want to use that, don't use it. Don't. It's such a dirty, dirty play. But it's their job to call the game, and they're not in a position to call the game, and you're taking advantage of that. Uh, I don't know. Like you said, it might be a dirty pool, and waving the hands. Maybe that is considered dirty pool in demolition derby. If you guys got anything else, is there anything else considered dirty pool? Can you think of anything off the top of your head that would be, hey, that's a no-no?
On the track stuff, no, I don't. Um, I mean, obviously, targeting the driver's door, which I know everybody says they're not, and they didn't intend to, and the other driver pulled it, that type of thing. But I just I don't know. I just feel like this is like I guess my issue with it would just be it relates to an injury. You could possibly be injured and you're waving me off. Uh, so that's why I'm on that page, I guess. The risk is too high for potential there.
You mentioned a driver's door shot. I wasn't thinking about that, but that's a perfect example of gamesmanship when guys are pulling it, when they're not. We tend to see drivers' doors pulled a lot less in our sport, or you getting thrown out a lot less in our sport than you used to. I mean, I remember the days when even looked at a driver's door. I mean, guys had to paint them white because like it was so identifiable that if you hit a driver's door, bud, you're gone. It's kind of switched. The game's changed, and I mean, I even at our show, like everything's so high paced. We make you put protection on the driver's door for a reason because we know that this is going to happen. I know damn well that I'm pulling a driver's door every single time before you knock my front tire off. And that's going to happen at the highest caliber um, of competition. We don't want to end someone's night early in raw competition just because they poked on a driver's door. So that's why we make it mandatory to protect the drivers. And I do think it should be mandatory across all classes. This we make it mandatory, guys. I say it once, I've said it 100 times. Dale Earnhardt had to die in NASCAR for them to make um, for them to revise their safety provisions, and that's the icon of their sport. We shouldn't have to have an icon of our sport get injured really bad or possibly pass away due to competing in the sport that we all love. So rollover bars, a door ball or a door plate. Heck, Robbie's not on here tonight, but I know Robbie makes awesome interior door plates that can go from car to car. You just tack weld them in there. They go on the outside of your cage, and that people don't think about that building cars, but it should be a mandatory thing across our sport.
Yeah, and I also think that that would be a great place for, like everybody always says that, we should get unified rules, and everybody's heard it all 1,000 times. But I'm
Oh,
a
you
frustration
want
of
to go down
mine.
that road? You want to go down that?
I don't
Okay,
want to go down that road.
okay.
I'll just leave it at we should be at least be able to organize, like with mandatory door plates, rollover bar, that type of thing. At bare minimum, I think we should we should be able to come together on some, you know, unique safe or not unique, but universal safety rules.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this then. I'm going to put the ball in your court. Why haven't we came together on that? If
Well, I think you got some ego stuff going on. I think you got just well, the people from my area won't do it. Yeah, it just
wait a
goes
second
back to
though,
this.
there's been
Oh,
meetings, right, where this was discussed and should have happened. So if it's in the name of safety, why hasn't it happened? Why are we the only promoter in the entire nation that has mandatory rollover bar and door protection that I know of? I could be wrong, in every class.
I, your guess is as good as mine there. I think, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't, yeah, in some of the classes, if you're allowed a pointy bumper and stuff like that, you should at least be able to have semi like a door bar or
It can't
not
be
just
just a door bar.
not
It,
just shoved in your door, but I'm saying almost, what is a cage, a 4-point cage going to do that is going to alter the and I get it if you're attaching it to things you couldn't, but I'm talking a basic 4-point cage, and then that's attached for your fuel cell protector and everything on your back bar. I just don't see that those are going to be things, or a halo bar or a door plate, that are going to alter the finish of a show. So for your question of why we're not, you know, maybe somebody in the comments has the answer there, but it's that's a good question. Why we haven't?
a lot of
I don't know.
infighting. Um, I would venture to say that Brian has a comment here. Same reason can't come together on anything. Um, I would imagine, I would say that there's not a lot of these conversations happening publicly. It feels like people are unwilling to have conversations publicly, and talk about these things. Everything has to happen behind closed doors or some hidden agenda. Man, if you're a conspiracy theorist, I'm telling you right now, you think of all these things that are happening behind closed doors and whatnot. The Derby world would love for that to happen. They're certainly trying to get everything to happen behind closed doors, um, but it's not. Nothing's really happening, and it's a shame. It's a shame that we can't move forward on those two things. You know, a rollover bar, a plate on your door, and not just like a little 4-inch plate. I mean, it should be a plate on your door. It should be a mandatory rollover bar. Um, the two most dangerous situations, and then probably gas tanks. Gas
Yeah,
tanks probably have to follow in line next. How we do that, of course, I have some thoughts on that. Exactly what we do with gas tanks or whatever. Uh, but we need to do something. I mean, Tyson, you know this
yeah,
too many times. I mean, the old boat tanks, the old kegs that are made out of gas. Look, these guys are some of the greatest engineers that you ever seen building a car. Okay, and they can do those things, and some of them can do them safely. Some of them can't. Shouldn't really be putting people in danger. I think in those three things. Hopefully, these things can get done, and not just one. Like, yeah, we're doing it. But what does us doing it matter if at the county fair next week or at whatever independent show next week, someone gets seriously hurt? It doesn't matter that we did it. It
Yeah.
needs to happen across the board.
Well, and I think to even make matters worse is that's the county fair is typically where you have the local guy who just wants to go out and try it, who's more and not as experienced in the car and understanding what happens. No, it's no different than putting your battery box all the way over towards your right side passenger door and then not understanding that there's a bumper that's going to be coming in there and it's folding that door over onto your battery and now your battery's arcing out all over your car. Yeah, the same could be said with the old style fuel cells and I'm speaking of front wheel drive more realistically. There's no package tray type deal back there to stop everything, so it's just struts and trailing arms coming up and keep pounding because we got the computers and stuff now to keep these motors running, so these cars are going longer because they're just dragging the back. And yeah, I mean it's
You,
only a
so
matter of
you
time before that fuel cell
you make a great
gets.
point. We are engineering these cars to last longer and drive
Yeah,
crippled or hurt more than they ever were before. With that comes certain risk.
yeah,
And you hinted on it. With that comes certain risks. Fuel cells, door bars, cages, everything's got to hold up a little longer. And it's a perfect segue into, why that safety stuff should be happening. I want to get into a couple of the comments here. Brett chimed in and he said, if rules allow pointy bumper mandatory, I agree with this. What I would say to this though is, man, I've seen just as many flat bumpers rip the sides of doors open as anything else. So I don't think the safety initially, I think your mind it goes to that because it's a pointy, it's sticking out, and people
yeah,
are driving into it. But I've seen so many different bumpers rip doors wide open. Heck,
yeah,
Chad Markley at Mayhem literally grabbed his door skin on the outside of his car and pushed it down so he could see again. His entire exterior door, factory door seam was gone. It was
yeah.
only interior at that point. And, he's such a competitor. He just pulled that baby right down. Um, but, that's safety wise, that's a risk. So this is a good comment. Caleb chimes in. Thanks for tuning in. Says the only problem with this is money. A lot of people that run fairs slap a car together in a day and don't have the time or money. Not saying it's right, just saying why I think that is why it's not enforced. Would hurt the car count. Um, Look, I don't think I can disagree. Can you disagree?
I don't, but I mean, what do we do when somebody, when the unfortunate tragedy happens, and then it's like the insurance comes in and says, "Oh, by the way, this is no longer a safe sport." It's either this gigantic amount to cover this, or it's an uninsurable event, and then we
There's
have
a
nothing.
Yeah, I think you got a good point there. There is a phrase that I've heard before, and it applies to this, and I think we can all learn from it. It goes something like this, and I hope I get this right. But it says if you don't have the time to do it right the first time, then you're going to have to make time to do it again. How are you ever going to have time to do it right, a second time if you didn't have time to do it right the first time? I think this applies to this. And I apply this to a lot of different things. Do things right the first time. And that's what we should be teaching. And we know the value of this. We are the professionals of demolition derby, and we know how this can negatively impact drivers. But if we create a culture in which it's not about safety, when these guys come up and they go to the next level,
Yep,
they're just at more and more risk, right? The horsepower gets a little more, the
yep,
cars a little faster, the drivers are a little better. So Caleb, to your point, I think we need to find a way, right? We need to find a way to educate these guys because they can spend an extra 40, $50 on a door plate. How do we get that affordable? Um, if it's just that, how do we get that affordable for these guys? Because creating a culture in which we know it's not right, but allowing it anyways, it doesn't help anything. I agree with your point, but I also think that it's a culture thing, and we've got to show these guys the way and kind of nurture them and say, safety. We might be a lot of things, but we're not going to deviate from safety. Look, when we first started that, we implemented mandatory door bars and or 4-point cages and rollover bars and um, the door plate. I think it was 3 years ago. We caught a lot of flack for it, man, and it was unfortunate, but we weren't budging on it. It wasn't going to happen, and it can't happen. Anything that's worth doing, you're going to take criticism over, and we're willing to take that criticism and lead the way if we have to. So thanks for chiming in. I appreciate that. Here's another one. Now we got this conversation rolling. Here's another one. Ken pops in. He says wearing shorts and t-shirts shouldn't be happening. That is another perfect example. Should be happening. Tyson, how many fires you seen at a derby?
I've been to a bunch of derbies. I mean, it, it there's quite a few. The fuel lines or anything like that at any point could catch, and then you simply wouldn't have time. I know it's not going to happen every time, but you just don't know. Uh, so and again, I just go back to the like you referred to earlier. It's when's the last time? When is it going to be too late to wait? And then now we don't have the opportunity anymore. Um, I mean, at least some pants and something, like a flannel, or I don't know, maybe not even a flannel, anything that's fire retardant or Carhartt duck cloth or something is better than shorts and a cut off shirt, which I've seen. So.
Oh, I've absolutely seen it too. Brian has a great comment here. This is this is a really good comment. I read it before I put it up here. It says it's not a safe sport by definition. Why enhance the dangers already present? Ideas can often go unheard until they're written in blood. That's a deep statement. Well, it's never happened before. That's in the derby world. Let's not let that be written in blood. There's already going to be accidents, okay, and tragedies that are going to happen in the derby world. We know this because of it's a motorsport, right? It's dangerous. People know this in football. They know this in baseball. Like they know this in all these competitive sports. Yeah, that's definitely not enhance the dangers already present when we know we're crashing cars into each other for fun. Um, I agree, man. What a statement there. Until they're written in blood. That's deep, man. That is deep.
It's a
It's
good one for
definitely
sure.
something to talk about. And I wish, like I said, I mean, there's supposed to be these meetings that happen that get this stuff done. You got me all fired up on this. Doesn't seem to get anything done ever, but supposed to be getting things done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things to where somebody's got to implement it, and the culture will eventually catch up. Um, I think we had a lot of pushback with the format for the past few years too, and whether people don't understand it or you know uh, just don't like it. Um, the, I don't think there's any argument with the fact that it's pure competition on. You can argue that it's the teaming thing. The teaming thing doesn't go away, but at the end of the day, whoever comes out of those three has eliminated a car. And so to me, you didn't just run down to the first or the last five of the heat, and now you get to go to the feature where you didn't. There's a possibility of in a traditional heat, you didn't even eliminate anybody. You just outlasted everybody. So I just think it's another one of those things where the culture's just got to catch up, and I think it'll happen. It's just
You're gonna
gotta.
get me all fired up, man. And you're on these. You're touching my buttons here. A couple things you said. A lot of people seem to be beating this competition word lately, and we've been beating this baby for 4 years. Competition, competition, competition. Brian talks about pure definition of demolition derby. Pure definition of demolition derby is avoid contact to win the derby. Let me repeat that. The definition of winning a derby is avoid contact, protect your car in the best way. We've actually defined this. You know that term, sandbagging? That guy's a sandbagger. Well, guess what? Sandbaggers bring home the checks. Why? Because they are implementing, by definition, what exactly are showing everybody what exactly it takes to win a derby. That is avoid contact. Several problems with that. Okay. You don't actually have to beat anyone. We had Travis on here a long time ago, and he mentioned in all other forms of motorsport or forms of competition, you're on the edge, pushing yourself to that very edge to try to get the best of your competitor. Are you really doing that in demolition derby? Is avoiding contact really pushing your abilities to the edge? Or is it locking three people in a room, basically what we do in the format, and saying only one of you comes out? Here's the rules. You got to hit every minute. It'll last as long as you want it to last. We're not getting involved, but it's mano. Tell me that ain't real competition.
Yeah, now I don't necessarily blame the drivers because you always have that argument of you can't have the saying of you can't hate the player, you got to hate the game, and as long as that's what is put out there, um, and it's allowed. I mean, the competitor and these drivers is going to take the advantage that they see, and it's just naturally going to happen. So, yeah.
Oh, I think you're right. I don't think this is a driver problem. I think this is
Yeah.
a, asking for competition and nurturing it is two different things, right? A lot of people
Mhm.
ask for competition. They ask for entertainment through Mad Dogs or Reapers
Right.
or this and that, right? But nurturing it, meaning putting drivers in a place where they have to compete, where they have to get it on, where they have to provide entertainment, that's a whole different story rather than asking.
Yeah. And speaking of the Mad Dogs and that type of thing, which is all the more reason to go back to the safety thing is because it's encouraged. So, the kamikaze shot or I should say maybe the kill shot to go from one side of the track to the other is actually encouraged by a lot of these promoters, and but yet, you know, there's still a refusal to put some safety feature or a refusal to come together and organize a universal safety package, maybe for rules. So it's just
Hey,
another
Tyson,
reason why.
Randy said it. I didn't say it. I'm just going to leave that up on the screen for a second. Um, Randy said it. I didn't say it. But back to what you were saying. Look at that. We have a sport in which we are highlighting craziness, right? And we're going to give big trophies, and people are going to be proud, and they're going to strut around like they won the Derby, right? Um, and we're not going to have safety features as the number one thing that we're concerned about.
Yep.
Now, if that ain't contradictory, I don't know what is. Um, hey, and to this, I'm gonna stick up for these drivers. I'm telling you right now. Yes, we had to pay big money. Okay, $50,000. I think it was paid in Canada once, but it's never been paid in the United States that I know of. $50,000. Some of these big name drivers are coming out. Okay, coming out of the woodwork, and we're going to see them next year. Yeah, for the first time in the format, we got people from coming from out of state, far away, and it's going to fill. You know, I uh, I always wondered, and you guys maybe can help me out. When we put out the 25,000 to win, the 50,000 to win, and we push the limit of demolition derby and what the drivers want to compete for, there's always these haters that come out of the woodwork, and they always say like one comes to mind, and I actually asked him to be on the podcast. Maybe he'll come on the podcast. He did say he would, so we're gonna have to get him on one week. See if we can get that person on. But um, they say it'll never fill. That's craziness. People don't even want that. Blah blah blah. What are they? What is? Why when we put out a big payday is the first reaction a negative reaction when you're not someone that supports or runs the show? What's up with that? Is that a culture issue that Brian's talking about?
I think it is. I think it goes along the same lines of, we should go back to, the 90s when you know, everything was great back then. And I think a lot of people just are stuck in a position of that's the last time that they were competitive, and they really haven't experienced any real great success with the progression of the rules and the heavier builds and that thing. So then that's what they automatically retreat to. Um, I, as far as yeah, so
That's a pretty good point. I like what you said there. Sorry to jump around on you guys, but there's some comments coming in that we're trying to address here. So this is a pretty good comment. Mad Dog, hard hitting awards need to be eliminated to advance the sport in the right direction. Look, I'm not saying they need to go away. Maybe that's a little too dramatic. I'm not saying that because I think people will definitely fight that. I'm not sure if we're ready for that type of deal, but we certainly need to talk about um, safety along with that if that's something that we are highlighting. The next thing I want to touch on is what if we measured somebody's skill not based on how well they can avoid competition, but how well they can beat their competition? That is the format. That's the format. How well we're going to put out a piece of I guess literature, right? Derby literature of people's records in the format. These are guys that are undefeated or have records in the format, win loss. Measuring someone's skill based on how well they can beat their competition rather than how many buddies they have or if um, or how well they can avoid competition, I think is the key to creating a sport. Am I wrong?
I don't think so. I think we have to have it's the some people say that it's not for everyone with the 3 hour feature or whatever you want to call that situation, which and I get it. That's the competition is. I mean, you got to be a fierce competitor to be in a car for 3 hours and come out and you know finish that out. But I think we have to keep pushing because if we start to settle and not keep the ball moving forward, well then we're just going to be in this stuck position of where nothing happens, nothing changes, and you're just never going to progress to anything bigger or better. I think uh, so. We have to keep bringing, and I think that's what we really do here is we just keep bringing up things and talking about them and let people express themselves and then figure out what's the best direction. So and I think the format puts people to the max of of what their or compatibility is uh, on the track.
Well, it certainly does, right? It changes the goalposts. So the goalposts
Right.
were, hey, I avoid the most contact and I win this derby, or
Yep.
I bring the most friends and I can win this derby. that's just not the case. That's not what we're about. That's not what we're trying to create. We're trying to say, hey, look, if you're the best that day, if you're better than these two drivers, if you're better than 15 guys in the feature, you may be seeing us in victory lane, right? Um, that's a different set of goalposts. It's a different standard. It's a different culture in demolition derby, and I think there's going to be more losing in that brand
Hmm.
of demolition derby, and I think that may affect some people's reputations, but it shouldn't, because the win should mean that much more. And I am so
Right.
excited to fast forward this thing 5, 6, 10 years, right, and see who the names are at the top of that list. Because man, I got to tell you, we're creating a derby in which it doesn't matter if you're front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, if you're truck guys, it doesn't matter where you're at. Like, if you're competing on this stage, I mean, you're competing against some of the best in the nation, but you're also doing it where the goalposts are centered around beating your competition. I mean, you said it earlier. You may run a demolition derby, and this is kind of crazy. You may run a demolition derby and never actually beat anyone. Second placement wheel may
Second
fall
place.
off, or better yet, he may break a stick before you ever even touch him.
Yeah.
So how crazy is that to think about? Like,
Or
there are
or
hundreds.
or or if they not break their stick because something failed, but if you're running down to the top three, top two, splitting, whatever you want to call it, and you never, that's the perfect reason why you never actually had to beat a single car.
Shoo wee. That's another subject there. You going down a wormhole. Um, that's one of those things that I think the culture created, right? The splitting stuff,
Yeah. And
and
it's
it
the
was
same thing with, you can't hate the player, you got to hate the game, and that's just where that's what we've
e-
created.
exactly where I was going. Yeah, it's not a player problem. We have a game problem. The game is malfunctioning. We have a sport that's supposed to be based on competition, and it's not rooted in competition. Um, Safety and competition. If you got anything out of tonight, safety competition is where we're at. Look, if you're still on here checking us out, make sure you get on our socials and follow us on there. They're at the bottom of the page. You can see that Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, share to what we're doing. Thank you for chiming in and commenting. Look, this is a public stage. We want everybody to have their opinion, to come on here, to tell us how wrong we are, to tell us if we're doing things right, to tell us things that we've never even thought of before. Because this is how things move forward. You got to have this conversation. We're in the middle of building a car, Tyson, and I was like, man, we got to get on Tuesday night and we got to do a podcast. Uh, we had to do it, and the reason why we had to do it is because of reasons like this. Is this became a really really good podcast really quick, and it talked about a lot of important things. And if this podcast is the thing that pushes people to the edge of with the safety stuff, or the competition, or whatever it is, whatever this triggers, then it was well worth it, right? The time, hour out of the garage to come in here and have this conversation with you guys. So just a little recap of the episode. Listen, our throwback class is coming, and we're going to give some information out on that. We're going back. It's going to be 2010 something rules. Okay, you're not saying it yet. 2010 rules. Everyone says they want to go back. We are finalizing some things with that, but it's happening. Okay, so our second big class of the King is going to happen, and it's for all you old school guys. All right, back when Derbying was the greatest thing in the world, right? Let's see if you guys can build those cars and come compete and beat your competition in today's world. That's what I'm interested in. We talked about Pete Hansen and the Philadelphia Inquirer. If you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, I looked it up earlier. The Philadelphia Inquirer has been around for what, 196 years? Is that what it was?
I don't remember. I know it was over 100. It was quite a long time. So
194 years. The Philadelphia Inquirer just did a story on Pete Hansen, okay? And part of our Derby family and they are 194 years old, and they get out to 13 million, over 13 million people a month. Imagine the eyes that are on that are looking into our sport that never have. If you guys haven't had a chance to go to his page, it's on my page. Make sure you share that. This is huge for the sport. Anytime you have an opportunity, no matter who it is, okay, it doesn't matter who it is, it's good for the sport. Eyeballs are good for the sport. Next thing is the wagon build. Hey, we're building the wagon for Buried Alive, and at the end of October, and we're excited to share that information with you. We ask guys to do a lot of documenting and post updates and this and that. Look, we're telling everyone we're going to Buried Alive in October, barring something crazy happening. I'm bringing a wagon. Here's what I'm building. Here's how it's built. Blah, 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 blah. If it puts a bigger target on our back, it does. We just want to go out there and derby. May the best man win over there. I hope we make a lot of friends. I hope people appreciate what we're doing, and I hope you guys appreciate that content that we're giving you. We wanted to do this because I asked this of a lot of other people, and I wanted to understand a little better of what I'm asking drivers to do, and what it's like to go through and record things in the garage, and basically here's the book. Here's what it's like to build a wagon. Here's what we're doing to it, and we're not really scared to show or not show things. Here it is. So we're doing that, and we talked about the come on man, but I won't recap that. More importantly, the safety and aspect of things, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Looks like we're about an hour and 15 into this baby, so we're going to wrap her up. Thank you guys for commenting, engaging, share this with your friends. Look, we're always looking for people to come on. If you guys want to come on, you guys want to be a staple on the podcast, more than welcome. If you want to talk about a controversial topic, hey, come on. You don't have to comment. We'll talk about anything. And I think we've shown that in the first 19 episodes. We've had enemies on here. We've had people that we disagree. We've called people out. Those things need to happen. It makes for a better world when everybody's held to a certain standard. Changing the culture, as Brian says, is important. So let's start doing that. Let's start beating that drum. Tyson, you got anything to wrap this thing up?
I don't. I just the reference to the Mad Dogs and things. I clearly agree that I wasn't referring to remove them or get rid of them. Everybody has their own likings and things like that. It's just the fact that if we're going to promote it that way, then we have to, be prepared for safety on that side of things. So,
hey, it's not fun leading. You take a lot of criticism for it, but be the leaders in your circles, guys. Go out and preach the safety part of this. Go out and preach competition for us, and let's help move this sport forward. So thank you guys for all tuning in. We will see you next Tuesday. Make sure you stay tuned in the socials.